NBA players' greatest comeback from injuries. In the NBA, and sports of all kinds, injuries are something that can truly ruin a player's career. Great players that could have turned into legends have had their careers cut short because of an injury. But sometimes things work out. Sometimes players suffer a gruesome injury, but work even harder than they ever did before to get back to being healthy again. So in today's video, we'll be covering the NBA players' greatest comebacks from injuries of all time. If you enjoy NBA content like this, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe for more. And be sure to watch till the end so you hear about the injury that could have ended Michael Jordan's career. First up on our list, we have a player that has received some criticism after his performance in the NBA bubble, Paul George. Before he was a superstar player on the Clippers and Thunder, PG was known for being the leader of the Pacers and trying to go head-to-head against LeBron in the playoffs. Unlike the rest of the players on this list, George didn't get injured during an NBA game. It actually happened after the 2014 season at a Team USA scrimmage. Those who were watching live remember how gruesome his leg injury was. Many assumed he would never play the same again. At this point in his career, PG had just led the Pacers to the Eastern Conference Finals to lose in 6 to LeBron. He was a two-time All-Star, a two-time All-NBA third-team member, a two-time All-Defensive player, and he had just won Most Improved Player in the previous season. Things were looking up for Paul George, but everything suddenly came crashing down when he tried to block Harden's layup during a scrimmage. However, PG didn't let the injury slow down his development. Once he was fully healthy and ready to get back on the court, George didn't look like a guy that just snapped his leg in half just a year ago. In the very next season following his injury, Paul would have one of the best years of his career, averaging over 23 points. The season after that, his average looked similar, and people slowly started to forget about his injury. I think everyone truly recognized Paul George's greatness after his one season he played with OKC. Before joining the Thunder, he was seen as a great player that could reach All-NBA level play, but didn't seem like the guy that would be the number one option on a championship team. But in his only season playing for OKC, it seemed like Paul George was on another level. In the 2018 and 19 NBA season, PG got the third most votes for MVP, only behind Giannis and James Harden. He had the best season of his career by far, averaging over 28 points on great efficiency. The Thunder looked like one of the best teams in the league, and Paul George had solidified himself as a top 10 player in the league. Obviously, the team didn't work out in the long run, but the point here is that PG had a terrible injury in 2014, but was able to work on his game and become an even better player post-injury. The next player on our list can be recognized as the youngest MVP in NBA history, Derrick Rose. Back in the early 2010s, Rose was just entering the league. It seemed like there was absolutely nothing that could stop him from getting to the rim. His athleticism was on the same level as Westbrook's, and every time he played, it was a must-watch game. However, his athleticism would actually be his downfall because it was his leaping ability that caused him to suffer so many injuries throughout his career. Rose would go out for crazy athletic dunks that few players could finish, but when he would go to land, he would often fall back on one leg. The repeated motion of making athletic finishes and landing awkwardly would eventually cause Rose to tear his ACL in the first round of the 2012 playoffs. D. Rose would miss the entire next season, and when it finally seemed to be getting better for him, he would tear his meniscus in the 2014 season. From 2016 to 2018, Rose would be part of 4 teams and couldn't really seem to find a home. However, something had finally gone right for D. Rose, because on Halloween night of 2018, he finally broke out. At this point in his career, he was playing for the Timberwolves as a backup point guard to Jeff Teague. They were playing against the Jazz that night, and something just clicked for Rose as he scored 50 points and got the game-saving block. After the game ended, he was interviewed by a reporter and asked what this game meant for him after all that he went through. D. Rose broke down crying and explained how hard he had to work to get back being the player that he wanted to be. After this emotional moment, Derrick turned his career around and went on to average 18 points and shoot a career-high 37% from the three for the rest of the season. The following year, he secured himself a $15 million contract from the Pistons and was their starting point guard for a majority of the season. He again averaged 18 points and shot close to 50% from the field. For much of the most recent season, Rose was even in the Sixth Man of the Year discussion. D. Rose may not be the same high-flying guard we all remember, but he has still transformed himself into being a productive NBA player. The third player on our list is a tall point guard that has won a few NBA titles, Shaun Livingston. Before he was a backup on the Warriors, Livingston was a solid point guard in the league that almost had his career derailed by injury. Standing at 6'7" and being a point guard, there was a lot of promise surrounding Shaun, as many thought he could one day become a big star. In his third year in the league, he was averaging about 10 points and 5 assists on good efficiency. The Clippers were excited to see their young guard develop, but unfortunately, things didn't go as planned. In February of 2007, the Clippers were matched up against the Charlotte Bobcats. In the first quarter, Livingston stole the ball and went up for a layup, but on the way down, something must have gone wrong, because when he landed, his leg went completely sideways. The whole arena seemed to have yelled in pain with Livingston at the exact same time, and the game completely stopped. Later, it would be reported that Shaun had basically shattered everything in his knee because he landed so awkwardly on it. He tore his ACL, PCL, meniscus, and MCL. This is how bad it was. Some doctors said that it was the worst basketball injury they had ever seen, and that he might even need to amputate the leg. Many fans of the NBA and others assumed Livingston would probably never play again. The first 3 years of his career were riddled with injury, which would cause him to miss 101 out of 246 possible games. After the awful knee injury was over, Livingston was not picked up for the fourth year of his rookie contract and had to find a new team. From 2008 to 2015, Shaun would play for 8 different teams and was rarely able to play the full season. It seemed like the promising guard with size was turning into another potential star that had his career ruined by injuries. But when he signed with the Warriors in 2014, things started to change. His numbers didn't look too impressive as he only averaged 6 points, but he did shoot over 50% from the field. Livingston was a quality backup for a team that was slowly turning into the best in the league. It wasn't like Shaun was just some bench warmer that didn't play much. He averaged 20 minutes a night and was relied on for his defense and ball handling. Shaun Livingston and the Warriors would win 3 NBA Finals. He didn't turn into a star player, but Livingston was still able to play great basketball for 12 years after shattering his knee. The final player on our list has many nicknames, but most know him as the GOAT, Michael Jordan. After winning Rookie of the Year and averaging close to 30 points in his first season in the league, Michael was ready to take his game to the next level. Jordan came out strong in his sophomore season, putting up even better numbers than he did in the previous year. But on October 29th, the Bulls were facing the Warriors, and Jordan went down with a foot injury that put him out for the majority of the season. It didn't seem as bad of an injury as the rest in this video, but for a man as competitive as Jordan, this was a nightmare. The doctor said he would have to sit out for at least 6 weeks. And on the Last Dance documentary, Jordan said he was devastated. He didn't know what to do with himself during that time. So, of course, instead of resting like he was supposed to be, Jordan snuck off to UNC to, you guessed it, play basketball. Michael said he started with some light one-on-one, then moved to 2-on-2, and so on until he was playing full-speed 5-on-5 games. When he could finally play for the Bulls again, they were confused because his injured calf was stronger than his uninjured calf. They obviously knew something was up, and Jordan admitted to playing basketball during the time he was supposed to be resting. But because it's Michael Jordan, the Bulls organization couldn't really do anything about it. All he wanted to do was play. But the Bulls wouldn't let him because, well, they wanted to make sure their MVP caliber player was completely healthy. They eventually agreed to let him play on a minutes restriction, but when he finally returned to the team, they only had a record of 24-43. The team actually wanted to miss the playoffs for a better draft pick. But Michael's desire to win would not allow it to happen, as they ended up snagging the 8th seed in the East with only 30 wins. In the playoffs, Jordan was finally allowed to play his full minutes, and he took complete advantage of it. The Larry Bird-led Celtics were one of the toughest teams in the league, but that didn't faze Michael. He dropped 49 points in the first game of the series, then put up an NBA record for most points in a playoff game with 63. Keep in mind, this is Jordan coming off an injury in his second season in the league against a top 2 team. The Bulls would lose the series, which was expected, but Michael proved to the league that an injury would not slow him down. The rest of his career is history, as most of us know of his 6 championships and 6 finals MVPs. However, it is still crazy to think that the greatest player of all time almost had his career ruined by injury just because he couldn't wait 6 weeks to play basketball again. Don't forget to leave a comment down below telling us what you think was the greatest comeback from injury in NBA history. Thanks for watching, and be sure to smash that like button, hit subscribe, and ring the bell so you get notified when we upload another video about the NBA.